and welcome to the Average Dave's Movie and TV Talk. This is our 5th episode, and as you can tell, we're going to be talking about a little bit of Star Wars.
It's May the 4th be with you
May
special.
the 4th be with you special.
As you can see. So May the 4th is, because it rhymes with May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. Because originally, if you know, all the movies came out in May as well, until
what?
Until Disney took over.
Until Vault bought them?
Yeah.
Vault Industries?
Yeah.
But we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the good stuff. And Dave?
We'll start off with episode 4.
Yeah, we're going to go in the order in which they were released.
Yeah, episode 4, Star Wars, which later became Star Wars The New Hope, but when it was released, it was just Star Wars. And then they put on The New Hope. I think that was when they were re-released, I believe. I don't think that was... Because when it was Empire and Return, I think it was still just Star Wars.
That was before my time. So
yeah, and then I think it was when they did the re-release of Star Wars, they named it The New Hope. Mm-hmm. So,
well, he originally just wanted it to be the one movie at first, right?
Yeah, but then if you listen,
then it was like, oh my God, this is making all of the money.
Yeah. And so, Star Wars: The New Hope was released on May 25th, 1977.
And it really is a milestone movie. It really is a tentpole movie. Yeah. It changed everything. Like, I just watched it again, and I was thinking to myself, man, like, could you imagine watching this in 1977? Like,
I can.
I can't, okay? First time I got to see it was 1997 for the 20th anniversary, when they re-released it.
Yep.
And I couldn't wait to go see it.
Which isn't the same.
No, it's not the same. They added some CGI stuff. Yep. I mean, it was...
They kept a lot of stuff, but they added, the Jabba the Hutt.
But the stuff that they added was good.
Right.
Unlike some of the stuff that they may have added in...
But as I've said in a couple other videos, I can remember seeing Star Wars at the Ludlow Theater. It was in, I believe, July of that year, because that's when Ludlow finally got it. And from that point forward, I was hooked on Star Wars. Still am hooked on Star Wars, even with some of the crap that they're doing now with
it. You sit down in your seat, there's no opening credits, just that 20th Century Fox.
Yep. And then comes
and then a long time then the iconic a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, the first start, then the scroll
and
comes.
then the explosion of just that music.
Yeah. And then
Star Wars pops up on the screen.
Was that a Corvette that they're in?
Yeah.
That you see the Corvette coming over your head in the screen, and then you see the Star Destroyer coming over. Like you said, just the sound. You just. It
was like, whoa! Like they aren't waiting.
So Star Wars introduced some of the most iconic actors, characters in movie history.
Oh yeah.
You
have arguably the most iconic villain.
Yeah.
And you have arguably the most iconic hero. I would argue that they're both as far as original to film, because they're not based on anything else. They were just a creation of George Lucas that he put out in a movie. You do have other iconic heroes maybe Lord of the Rings, but they're all based on a book,
right?
Yeah,
this was just a story that George Lucas had in his head, put to paper,
put to film, and it was just...
I can't remember the actual original name. It wasn't Star Wars, but it was It was going to be a different title. Then he switched it.
I didn't know that.
And it came up with Star Wars.
Was it The War in the Stars?
it was something completely different, and then they ended up with Star Wars. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, they introduce you to Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Chewbacca, C-3PO, R2-D2,
Obi-Wan
Kenobi.
Han.
Yeah, I mean, these characters people know.
And they still know. Yeah. And they're relevant. If they come out with a, how long has it been? 47 years? So, let's say in, 3 years, they, come out with a 50th anniversary of, collectible of, all of the original characters, Han, Luke, Leia, Vader,
action
Chewie.
Figures? Anything.
Anything. Yeah. They'll sell.
Oh, yeah.
They will sell out.
The new stuff doesn't. But
yeah, but we're not going to talk about that today. I mean, Star Wars ended in 2008.
I mean, Star Wars, the first one, it's really, to me, almost like it's sci-fi, but it's almost like a Western in space.
Well, I mean, he wanted to make like a fantasy in space. You know, you got the, you know, you have the princess, you have your like space wizards. Yeah. You know, you have your mentor. You have your knight. You know, I mean, they were Jedi Knights.
Right. I mean, and you look at Star Wars, and we're just talking about New Hope. It introduced you to probably one of the most iconic space vehicles in history.
The most iconic weapon.
Yeah. The Millennium Falcon.
Any sort of
lightsaber.
Yeah. You got the lightsaber.
Yeah.
You got the Death Star.
Yeah.
You got Star Destroyers. You got the Millennium Falcon. You've got X-Wings. Like, these are all icons. Like, people see that stuff, they know Star Wars.
Yeah. And a lot of your directors and stuff now, they took huge influence from this movie.
Yeah.
In future, you know, what they were trying to do for sci-fi.
Well, I mean, it really not only changed the landscape of film, but it also changed the landscape of film marketing, where, like, this is also the first movie where they had, like, movie tie-in toys.
Right.
That's how George made his billions.
If you had the original 12, don't ask me what all the original 12 were.
They're made by Hasbro, right?
Yeah, and you could order off a card. You would send the card in, and then as the action figures came out,
because they weren't expecting it,
right?
Because everybody wanted these Star Wars toys for Christmas, and they just didn't have them.
If you were to have these originals still carded, you're talking thousands of dollars for each action figure.
Must be nice.
Yeah,
I don't.
I can remember having those, but back in the 70s,
well, yeah,
you
of course.
played with them.
You
brought them outside, and you lost them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was watching a show. It's called Toy Hunter, and some of the prices for these things are crazy.
I mean, I'm sure opened and in good shape. They're still, you know.
But if you have them carded box still, you're talking big money.
Yeah, I bet.
Big money.
But there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And it's because the movie was fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return have all been put into the Library of Congress on 35mm film. Mm-hmm. All three of them.
Yep.
So that tells you right there how iconic these films are.
Well, I mean, there's also a reason that anytime somebody talks about, you know, the greatest trilogies of all time, the first thing that pops into anyone's head is the original trilogy. Yeah. It's not The Matrix, which is still just a trilogy. You know, it's not like Back to the Future. It's Star Wars. Yeah. Like, you know, when you think of trilogy of movies, it's the original trilogy.
Yeah. Which will be a video at a later date. The best trilogies of all time.
Yeah. I bet you I have the original trilogy on there pretty high.
Oh, I know mine is high. But just to give you an idea, Star Wars New Hope, again, was released in 1977. It had an $11 million budget. It grossed worldwide $775 million in 1977.
Yeah, like...
I
had a question for you. So, I asked you before the show, that 775 was what it did in 1977, not adjusted?
Right. So, if you adjust it, which is on this sheet... If you adjust Star Wars New Hope for this day and age monetary stuff, it would be $3 million.
No.
$3 billion, 47 million. That puts you ahead of just about every movie in history.
Yeah.
$3 billion on an $11 million budget.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that'll do it.
Then, as you see off to the side, if you put rentals in there with it, it's a $6 billion movie in its 44 years.
I mean, its domestic gross alone was 1.8 billion adjusted for inflation. That's just that's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, you'll never see something like that.
Mm-hmm. No,
ever again.
Well, Hollywood these days are incapable of making a movie that I think could do that.
I mean,
they are capable of it. Like the people working, it's just the management isn't.
I mean, Avengers came close.
Yeah.
Titanic, unfortunately, still up there. Avatar is still up there.
I mean, Titanic was watchable.
It's a horrible movie.
It was watchable though.
It's a horrible
Look, I'm not going to say that it was good or bad.
You know
Spoiler
why?
alert: it sinks. I didn't see that coming. But that came out in '97 too, right?
97 or 90. Yeah,
I'm pretty
97.
sure it came out in '97 because I remember the year the Titanic came out. My parents had to drag me to the theater to see it because they wanted to see it. And I was still just a wee lad. But they also took me to see, and I was more than happy to go see the 20th anniversary of Episode 4 for the first time.
So, if you ever watch Star Wars now, A New Hope, you are not actually seeing the original movie.
No. It does have some like changes.
The upgrades.
I was just watching my, the complete saga here that came out in 2011, and it does have changes. And in Episode 4, they're not offensive. Like, they're actually pretty good. Yeah. Episode 5, they're like pretty good too. But in Episode 6,
they did a couple.
There was a couple scenes where it kind of looks like this would fit in with Disney Star Wars. Like it's in like Jabba's palace when they got that like stupid band playing.
He went when we get to Return to Jedi. We'll talk about that. So the next one in order will be The Empire Strikes Back, released on May 21st, 1980. So you're getting May. They released in May, so that's why May the 4th. Empire Strikes Back, right up there with. It is in my top 5 movies of all time.
It's definitely top 10 for me. It's probably, in my opinion, the second best sequel of all time. Yeah. Definitely a top 3 sequel of all time, but I think I'd put it at number 2.
It definitely went darker.
Yes.
Than A New Hope. I mean, it went considerably darker than The New Hope. New Hope was that rah, 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 and then...
Well, A New Hope was called A New Hope for a reason. It was, they just had they've just had their first few victories against the Empire. Yeah. They had, this new hero up and coming. It's, the potential return of the Jedi Order.
Yeah. And then...
Ends pretty happily.
Yeah. And then Empire hits, and the Empire strikes back.
Yeah.
Just what it means. And they
Empire
do.
Like, even though the Death Star was destroyed, spoiler alert, the Empire was still... not to be messed with. Right. I mean, they still had a huge fleet. They still had a huge army. They still had Vader. And they had resources,
And then it introduces you to another iconic character.
Who's that?
Yoda.
Yoda? It introduces us to another iconic character.
Which one is that?
That would be Emperor Palpatine.
Emperor Palpatine?
I mean, granted, you don't see him, in person.
Right. And then one that goes on further also is Lando Calrissian. So those are your next 3.
Lando is more than iconic. He's arguably the coolest character,
right,
in all of film. I mean,
but so your first movie introduced you to a whole list of iconic, and then Empire Strikes Back comes in and gives you
even more
iconic characters. And Yoda, everybody, if skip ahead to the Mandalorian, you got Grogu, which is the same species as Yoda.
Yeah.
But but everybody calls him Baby Yoda, but he's not. He's actually Grogu.
Yeah, he's Grogu. I mean, we don't even know what the species is called. They've never named it. It's just the Yoda species.
Yeah, and
there was another one in the movies, Yaddle.
Oh yeah.
Technically, you see, it's a her. She's in. Right. I believe she's in the Jedi Council in the first movie, but she's actually a bigger part in the comics and stuff.
We're really just going to discuss the movies, but the comics and books you can get, some of the books especially, are awesome.
The New Jedi Order, which I think I've only read the first 4 or 5, and I think there's 18 of them. Yeah. It was spectacular. Yeah.
I mean, you get the Rogue Squadron books. You have all those are. Excellent.
I'm going to read the New Jedi Order books. I'm going to just bite the bullet and buy them.
So jump ahead real quick. That's why when Kathleen Kennedy came out, when she got into Disney,
I thought that we were talking about St. Kathleen.
But when she said they have no material to work with, that is when I knew the Star Wars that we were going to get from that point forward was going to be no good.
Oh, I knew it as soon as the Force was female shirts were out. It's like, what?
Yeah, so The Empire Strikes Back ends with,
it ends on a downer.
Yeah.
Luke just lost his hand.
And he finds out.
Yeah.
The main
Spoiler alert.
The main villain is his father.
Yeah.
And so it pretty much leaves you there.
You know, it seems like the alliance is reeling because, I mean,
so
they just got their butts kicked on like Hoth. Like they don't, I guess, have like a base of operations at like this point. They're just a wandering fleet in space.
I mean, you saw also the power, the manipulation of the Empire when they were going to the Cloud City thinking they were going to be safe. Mm-hmm. They get there.
We meet Lando.
Yep, you meet Lando.
Awesome.
They destroy C-3PO. Remember that? They blasted him, and he was about to go through the refinery there. The fire, and Chewbacca saves him.
Yep.
So something you knew when you saw that in the movie. Okay, something's wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I bet.
And then you see Lando, and then he brings him to go to dinner, meet a guest as a
refreshments.
Yeah. Open
Join
up
us
the door,
for refreshments.
And this man's standing there, and who was beside him?
Boba
Fett.
Yep.
And so you got introduced to Boba Fett standing there together with Vader, which was a great scene.
Oh yeah. Well, also on top of that, Han is like trying to blast him, and he's just like smacking him away.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "We would be honored if you joined us." It's such a great line.
And what I like about that is they left it right there, the cut screen, so you don't know what happened behind the closed doors.
Yeah, like George Lucas knew, hey, you know what? Let's just leave some things to the imagination. Yeah. We don't need to spell everything out. Our audience isn't idiots.
Yeah. And that you're right.
Yeah,
they did. They, in New Hope, all these movies up to a certain point, they left you to kind of have to think about what just happened.
Yeah,
they, like you said, they weren't explaining every little thing to you and extending the movies out by an hour just because trying to make it so everybody understands everything. No, this imagination.
Yeah,
that's why I love that scene. It cuts.
Yeah, you don't need to know something bad is going to happen. They showed you Darth Vader. They showed you Boba Fett. They're surrounded by stormtroopers. Yeah. 2 + 2 is 4. Yeah. They just done got captured.
Yeah. And then they go from there to the carbonite. Scene.
Well, no. First, they go from there to the torture scene.
Oh, where they had Han Solo being tortured.
And then they bring him back to the cell, and it's just they throw Leia in there. Chewie's there already, and Leia's just why are they doing this? And he's just they didn't even ask me any questions.
We're just having fun.
They were just having a little fun with them.
Yeah. And then, of course, you go to the carbonite scene, and then the Skywalker Vader fight.
Yes.
Luke loses his hand.
Spoiler alert.
And then they gets on the Millennium Falcon, and that's pretty much where they leave you, except they show you standing there with Princess Leia, C-3PO, and R2-D2 as they're looking out.
Yeah,
and that was where it ends.
Yeah, him, Leia, and the droids looking out at the fleet.
Yeah,
looking out seemingly like some sort of galaxy in the distance.
Crap.
But
we just got our butts handed
you
to
did
us.
just kind of breeze over possibly the most iconic scene in cinema. Luke.
Oh
no, I am your father.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can remember actually being in the theater when that happened for the first. Actually, I believe that was Springfield then, and people were. I can remember it. People were you could hear people in this crowd going, "Oh."
Yeah, you probably hear a pin drop.
Yeah. I mean, it's still to this day. You watch it, and you're like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah, it still gives me goosebumps when I watch it. It's so well done.
So, if people don't know this, the voice of Darth Vader is actually the man himself, James Earl Jones. He's portrayed in suit by David Prowse, but it's James Earl Jones that does the voice. Because you ever seen the cuts where they had David Prowse's voice?
I've heard that they exist. I've never looked them up because
David Prowse was a bodybuilder.
Yeah,
he was 6'7", I believe.
He was a big boy.
He was a bodybuilder, but he had a voice of
he was a British guy, right?
Yeah, British. So he had that British accent, and it was almost like a kid's voice behind the mask, and they were like, "Yeah, no."
I don't know if I would want to watch that because it's sort of like me with my favorite movies. I don't like to see any behind the scenes stuff of any movies that I really really love, especially if they're fantasy escapism. I don't want to see behind the scenes of the original trilogy. I don't want to see behind the scenes of the Lord of the Rings. It's there.
I like watching.
It's there on screen. Yep. I don't want to think about the cameras filming it.
Right.
No, I want to be taken away to Middle Earth, or I want to be taken away to that galaxy far, far away. I mean,
But yeah, so
I mean, I know that it's there, and some people like it, and hey, good for you.
Yeah,
More power to you. I
like
prefer
watching
not to
that
watch
sort of
it.
stuff. Yep. Well, like you said, you like it. I mean, you don't like it. I like watching that stuff. But if you ever do watch it, you're going to be like, yeah, good.
There is some interesting stuff though that you can certainly learn watching that kind of stuff. Like I mean, I've seen it before with some stuff that I don't really care about the escapism. Like Terminator 2, it takes place on Earth.
Yeah.
So I can watch the behind the scenes stuff of Terminator 2.
That's a great movie.
Is it?
It is.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
Huh.
And he got his inspiration off Star Wars as well, Mr. Cameron. So
I bet you he's got a lot of. I mean, a lot of people got their inspiration from Lucas and Spielberg. Those are two pioneering guys.
You had Jaws and Star Wars within 2 years of each other.
Oh God!
Two of the biggest movies in history that changed the whole
Jaws.
Movie industry around.
What an overrated piece of. No, I'm kidding. It's so good.
So we go from Empire Strikes Back
to.
Now we go to Episode 6.
Return of the Jedi, which to me always kind of held a special place for me, just because. It came out in '83, and so did I.
Yeah. It was released on May 25th, 1983.
It's only a few months younger than me.
It's my least favorite of the originals.
I think it's everyone's least favorite of the originals because of a certain thing you're going to bring up later, I'm sure.
Right. I mean, it does reintroduce you to the Death Star 2.
Yeah.
Which was bigger.
It's not a bad movie at all.
Oh, no.
It's so good.
You know, Death Star 2 is bigger than the original Death Star. Excuse me. It's not completed.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest problem with the movie was the Ewoks.
Stop it.
I'm sorry. I wish
you didn't like Wicket?
No, I didn't like them. I wish they would have went with the original concept, was having the Wookiees.
Well, yeah.
That would have been, because like we've said before, watching the Ewoks do things in battle that are being done, you're like, yeah, no.
Yeah,
now, if it was the Wookiees doing it, you'd be like, and then some.
Yeah, like if there was, there's a scene where they show the Ewoks, they're throwing rocks, and they don't look like they're throwing them particularly hard, and you see stormtroopers falling over, like they're getting killed. It's like,
now if a Wookiee threw a boulder at you, you'd be crushed.
Yeah, I mean, if a Wookiee threw a good sized rock at you, I could see it going through your helmet and into your skull.
Yep. So one thing we missed is Luke Skywalker.
Oh, we missed a lot of stuff.
Of Tatooine, where Obi-Wan found him.
Uh-huh.
You go to Empire Strikes Back. He meets Leia in Star Wars, and there was that connection they already kind of sort of had. Remember, she said you're kind of small for a trooper. What was that the line?
She said that you were kind of small for a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
So
they already kind of had a little connection going. Come to Empire Strikes Back. The connection's still there, but now you see the Han kind of falling for Princess Leia.
Well, he's been chasing her ever since he saw her.
Yeah, so you think that Luke and Princess Leia might have a thing for each other. You got Han and Princess Leia having a thing for each other. Well, Han having a thing for Princess Leia. And then you get to Return of the Jedi, and you find out that Luke and Princess Leia are twins. Mm-hmm. And Han Solo and Princess Leia.
Which they did kind of set up a little bit in the last movie when, the Force goes to Obi-Wan, says that boy's our last hope, and, Yoda's like, no, there is another. Yeah. But that's all he says. Just,
and Darth Vader figures that out in Empire. Wasn't it Empire?
No.
No, Return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Return. It was at the end. That's
sister.
what caused Luke to go, batshit and defeat him.
Yep.
Kind of start flirting with the dark side a little bit because he started fighting with rage.
Oh, you know what? I could have, if that went that way, I would have been almost good with that too.
If he completely turned?
Yeah, because you could see it.
Well, I mean, in some of the books, he does.
Yeah, but he can bring himself back.
Yeah.
But you could see it happening in Return. Mm-hmm. When he was fighting with Palpatine sitting there watching him, egging him on. You could see the anger starting to take over.
I mean, yeah, Luke had some training, but he didn't have, the lifetime of training that a normal Jedi would have.
I mean, Darth Vader was a very Anakin. So we'll get into this in the next episode. Mm-hmm. Darth Vader is very skilled at the lightsaber.
Yeah,
extremely skilled in fighting.
It's funny you say it. So I was watching the prequels, and then I started watching the original trilogy. We still have to watch the last one with a guy at work, younger guy, and we were watching. He said this during the Vader Skywalker fight in Episode 5. He's like, dude, the fighting in this is better than what's in the new stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, it's because it is, and yeah, it's because it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we'll get it. We'll have a Star Wars special on Disney Star Wars.
We'll have it,
and how they've destroyed Star Wars for the most part.
Not really. It didn't destroy any of the original stuff.
No, not the original stuff, but
because
the new stuff
I
doesn't
just
come close.
Don't connect it.
Right.
I don't consider any of it canon. Yeah. We'll get into that in a future episode. But
the end of Return of the Jedi brings the destruction of the Empire. You know, the
for the most part, yeah. I mean, you get the Emperor blown up.
The death of the Emperor, the death of Vader.
Mm-hmm. Their fleet, like,
pretty much gets destroyed.
Not really destroyed, but it takes a huge hit. But
that's actually one of the best space battle scenes we get to see out of all the Star Wars movies.
Because you actually get to see a space battle. Yeah. You don't get to see much of it. And then, like, you get to see the trench run in, like, Episode 4. Fantastic. It still holds up today.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the CGI stuff that they added works.
Yep.
Like, you know, it really works. It, like, complements it. Yep. Episode 5, the main battle you get to see is on Hoth.
Yeah, that's a great one.
You know, you get the AT-ATs, you get the snow speeders, you know, you get to see the snow troopers, you know, and then in Episode 5,
a cool outfit that like drape that comes down over their helmet.
Then in Episode 6, you get to see the space battle above, what was it, Endor?
Endor.
And then you get to see, you know, what should have been the Wookiees, but the Ewoks. And, I mean, it was still a good scene. Yep. It could have been better, but it still wasn't bad. Like, George Lucas brought you in different places and gave you different things, and he introduced different characters in all 6 of his movies.
Yeah.
You know?
Because George Lucas did Star Wars. I can't remember who did Empire and Return.
Empire was Irvin Kershner, right?
Yeah, Irvin Kershner. Then
I don't remember who did. Yeah. Was it Frank Oz?
No, I just saw it.
I know that he was a director too.
I actually meant to write
he was also the voice of Yoda. But
the next 3 movies we're discussing, Lucas was directly involved.
Yeah. Did he direct them though too?
Yep, every one of them.
Okay.
Yep. So we go from
Probably
episode 4.
Doesn't want to direct anymore.
We go to episode 4, and now Lucas realizes years later that he wants to do his original plan. So we go back now to May 19th of 1999, and we get introduced to Star Wars Episode 1,
The Phantom Menace. Which I could not wait.
Oh, yeah.
To see, like, this was my first time to see a new Star Wars movie in the theaters. I could not wait. And I loved it when I first saw it. And I still love it today.
It's still a good movie.
Yeah. All 3 of them are good movies.
I was disappointed in as it kind of, you could see where George was going on some of this, kind of make it more kiddie friendly. Yeah.
I have always been a unapologetic prequel lover.
Yeah. So when he says prequel, the originals are 4, 5, 6.
Yes.
The prequels are 1, 2, 3.
Yes. I have always enjoyed them. Yeah. I saw all of them in the theaters. I think I saw them all twice. Yeah. And I loved them. Like, they had their issues. They weren't as good as the OT, except for the third.
They had, so now we're going, what is it?
What?
Going back, how many years is it?
1999
for Phantom Menace.
It's like 25 years. Oh, how many years back?
Yeah, because Anakin is a kid.
So Episode 3 is 19 years before. So it's got to be like 30-ish years.
Yeah. So we're going back 30 years in timeline from A New Hope.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Hold on, because I looked this up. In the first movie, I think he's 10. In the second movie, he's 20, and in the third movie he's like 24.
Yeah. So from from Phantom Menace to New Hope.
So 24 plus 19 is what, 30?
Yeah,
33.
Yeah, something. So like you're going back to when this is where you're introduced to Anakin Skywalker, Qui-Gon Jinn, and a very young Obi-Wan played by
Ewan McGregor.
Was awesome. He was phenomenal.
He was awesome.
And Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn.
He was awesome.
He was great.
Ray Park is not the voice of, but the body of Darth Maul,
who, to me, is still.
Do you know who did the voice though? Because
No.
I was just looking up the guy who did the Tick, that Peter.
Yep.
Him. I don't know his last name. It's very long and it begins with an S.
Yep, that Tick is good, by the way.
But yeah, the guy who played the Tick is actually the voice of Darth Maul, like the 2 times that he talks.
I did not know that.
I looked it up because I'm like I was looking that stuff up.
So we're going back to Anakin being a kid. Qui-Gon finding him to see
being a trigger warning slave.
Yep, a slave. His mother's a slave. He's a slave. And what is the
midichlorians?
Yep. Because all your force sensitive
20,000. That's higher than Master Yoda.
Your force sensitive beings have that, and the higher the count, the stronger they can be in the force.
Stronger their connection with the force,
which I didn't like that whole part.
I wasn't a huge fan of that either, but I mean, if George wanted it, then George gets it.
You had the great speed racer scenes. Pod racers, yeah. That was great.
Speed Racer was a cartoon.
Yeah. The pod race, which was a great scene.
That was a fun scene.
Yeah.
That really was.
You get to start seeing the whole Federation trade war, which started Palpatine. Well, actually, he was Senator
Palpatine. Senator from Naboo.
Yeah. He is actually, which I already kind of knew from the first one. When I was watching, I already knew he is the Emperor.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't leave it much out there to figure that one out. So you get to see the story building Anakin as a young kid who becomes Darth Vader.
Him?
That guy right there.
Uh-huh.
Anakin Skywalker is actually Darth Vader, who in turn is Luke Skywalker's father. But in Phantom Menace, you're seeing him as a kid. The kid he's only what is he? Like,
he was like 10.
Yeah. He already knows how to run a pod racer. And excellent, by the way.
He's a pilot, too, on top of that.
Yeah. So you knew this kid was special.
Mm-hmm.
They build that up. You get to the end, which to me is probably, one of the best lightsaber duels in Star Wars.
I think it's the second best, but it's still phenomenal.
When you have Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon face off against Darth Maul. And you get to see how bad Darth Maul really is.
Yeah.
He is.
Well, also, for that fight scene, you had never seen a different lightsaber, and then all of a sudden he, faces him, lights it up, and there's, oh crap, there's 2 blades. That's freaking cool. Again, George Lucas bringing us new places, showing us new things.
To me, I know what one you're going to say is probably the best, but I still think this is the best lightsaber duel. Plus the music.
Oh, yeah.
Duel Fates is...
The setting for this one was better. Yeah. The music for this one was better.
Yeah, Duel Fates.
The action was, in my opinion, the second... It was still top-notch. Yeah. It was the second best, in my opinion.
But I think the music, the Duel Fates it makes it just that much better.
I think for most people, one of those two is their favorite, and I think more people will agree with you than me, which is fine.
Yeah.
I still love it.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I was... I did not like the prequels for the longest time. Until I started watching them again.
Did Voight Industries change your mind a little bit? Saying, my God, this could have been so much worse.
Yeah. So I watched them again, and the more I like them now.
There is a lot to like in them. They have their issues. I'm not going to say that they're flawless. Like, I'm not going to... Yeah, they are kiddie. There are some stupid characters. The romance is
between Jar Jar Binks and the romance story that they throw in there to get to where you are to have Luke and Leia. I understand they had to probably show that.
I mean, there was certain things that he had, there was certain what am I trying to say? Certain plot points that he had to hit on to get to his original trilogy, and there are some things that still don't make sense. Like, Obi-Wan would have recognized the droids. He had seen them before.
Yeah. The whole love thing, it just didn't work for me.
I know a lot of people don't like Hayden Christensen for his betrayal. I thought he was really good, but I will admit the romance scenes in episode 2 were really cheesy.
Yeah, they were bad.
Like they were, and I think Natalie Portman was and she's a really, really good actress.
I don't think they gelled together.
Yeah, she was like equally bad. Like they were both bad.
Yeah, because even in the next movie when they're together, they just didn't, to me they didn't gel. Gel together.
Yeah, there wasn't really great on-screen chemistry between those two.
But I think Hayden Christensen was underrated.
I think he was too.
Yeah. So.
And I think a lot of, like, you see like that now, even though I don't like the Disney crap, but they have had Hayden Christensen come back and reprise Anakin, and they've had him come to some of their Star Wars functions, and he gets this great like reception, and it's actually moved him to tears.
Yeah, actually,
and he deserves it. Like he deserves the like recognition of playing that role so well in so many ways. Yeah, the romance crap was bad, but everything else was really good. So
Hayden Christensen plays Anakin Skywalker.
Yes.
Natalie Portman plays Queen
Amidala.
I was going to say Nabadala.
Yeah, Queen Amidala of Naboo's.
Yeah. So you build your story there. Then we go into the second movie, which was released
Attack of the Clones.
May 16th, 2002, which was Attack of the Clones, which to me is the worst of the six.
I agree.
There were some great parts, but it wasn't good.
It was the romance scenes.
Yeah, the romance scenes killed that movie.
There was too much.
Yep.
And I mean, I get that he had to give it some sort of screen time because he had to have these two build up a romance for each other. I just didn't like the writing.
Yeah, no, you get introduced to the clones,
yes,
which are a huge part in Star Wars history. The clones.
Oh yeah.
You get the Jango Fett, and you get Little Boba Fett.
Yep, Little Boba.
Little Boba. and you get introduced to
people of Camino. What the hell were they called?
The race that's making the I can never remember.
They were from Camino. They were the comedians.
Yeah. You get introduced,
the comedians.
Yes. You get introduced to Count Dooku, who is played by
one of the all-time great actors to play any kind of villain, Christopher Lee.
He's excellent as Count Dooku.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And you know what? He still looks like that he could bring it back then.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they had him just playing
who in Star Wars lore is a bad dude.
Well, yeah, he is. He was Qui-Gon's master.
Yeah.
In fact, what actually made him turn was Qui-Gon's death. He didn't like that, Qui-Gon died.
Right. See, you don't see that stuff in the movie.
But back before, when there was all that extended stuff.
Yeah. You also get introduced to Mace Windu.
Novels, comics, video games.
One of the most, if not the most powerful Jedi.
No, you saw him in one. But you actually see him in action.
Right, okay. Yeah, you do get to see him in one, but two is like where he comes right out.
Oh, yeah.
Mace Windu played by?
Samuel
L. Jackson, who was excellent.
Who's a badass motherfucker.
Yeah, he played that role great.
Did you hear how he got that role, or do you remember how he got it?
I remember hearing, but
he was doing some sort of interview before the prequels came out, and he said something along the lines of he would love to work with George Lucas. So I guess George Lucas reached out and they offered him a role. Hey, they're like, hey, we're doing this, these new Star Wars movies. Do you want to come and participate? And he was like, yeah. And I think he showed up thinking that he would just have a little bit role here, and they end up making him the Grand Master of the entire Jedi Order. Yeah. Yes, Mace Windu in Episode 1 and 2 was the Grand Master of the entire Order. He stepped down after Episode 2 to focus more on the war,
right?
And that's when Yoda took over.
And what color lightsaber does he have?
Well, I believe he has a purple one.
The only one.
The only one. Which, again, when they were when he was getting fitted for his robes and stuff, and they were showing him his lightsaber prop, they asked him, what color lightsaber do you want to have? And he's like, and then they're like, well, you can get blue or you can get green. And he's like, can I get purple? And they said, sure.
Yep.
Because when Samuel L. asks, you just say sure.
Yeah. So lightsabers are different colors. You have green, blue, red, yellow, purple.
Which there's white. Not many yellow in the movies.
No.
I don't think there's.
And there's orange.
Any.
There is, and each one of them has a meaning.
In video games and stuff, there's all kinds of colors.
We're not going to get into that, but each color saber has a different meaning because it comes from the Jedi itself or the Sith itself on how they
like
the
basically
kyber crystal
to construct their lightsaber was like the final part of their training, and they had to get these. They were called kyber crystals, and there's all kinds of different crystals that you could get, and it was like supposed to be like the Jedi and the crystal had some sort of connection in the Force, and when they built the lightsaber, it was like an extension of themselves in the Force. It wasn't just like a mindless sword. It was actually a big deal.
It was part of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, Count Dooku, you get to really meet Mace Windu, the Fets.
You also got to meet the Death Star.
The original plans.
They did show it.
Yeah, at the end.
Original plans on Geonosis.
Yeah, when Count Dooku was escaping, he takes the plans, and all you see is a little screen with the image of the Death Star.
You see it up like bigger, and then they take it out of the computer, and they hand it to him, and he has like a little like hollow display in his hand where it's just look, that's the Death Star.
Yeah, and it's the first Death Star.
It is the first Death
Star. Plans, which in another movie before that you get to actually see how who gives the plans and how they make it, which to me is a good movie even though it's Disney.
It is a good movie even though it's Disney. I would still delete it from existence.
But out of the Attack of the Clones is my least favorite of the 6.
It does have one of the best action scenes though, and that is the battle on Geonosis.
Oh yeah. When you have 200 Jedi?
Yeah, it was 200 Jedi versus thousands of battle droids, and they get mowed down, but it was still really, really, really.
They get mowed down, but they take out.
Oh yeah, they take out a lot. You also see Mace Windu in action for the first time. You're like, dude, this guy is bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No wonder they got Samuel L. playing him.
You get to see the general that Yoda really is. He directing forces when they were going out. I mean, Yoda isn't just a Jedi; he's a battle master.
Well, he's 800 years old, so he's wise.
Yeah, and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
This is where Anakin, in the fight with Count Dooku, knocks out Obi-Wan, and then Anakin tries to be somebody he's not yet.
Anakin is a little too headstrong and proud, and ends up fighting him on his own, and he gets humbled a little bit.
And loses his hand.
Loses his left arm.
Yep, his left arm. So this is the beginning of the makings of Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
So
cutting away bits of him.
So we leave that, and then we go into episode 3.
Well, no. There is something big that happens at the end, and I kind of forgot that this happened until I rewatched it. They got married at the end of that movie.
That's right, in secret, because Jedi's can't have.
They got
love
married.
interest.
I forgot that they showed them. It's like it's not the last scene. I think the last scene that they show is like a couple of the Jedi observing as like the clones load up into the Republic cruisers, I guess that they were called, and they fly off. Like, it is the start of the Clone Wars. Begun the Clone Wars.
Oh yeah, it was the beginning.
Yeah,
of the Clone War,
which led us into a pretty decent animated series, Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I think that Dark Horse Comics did a run from the early 2000s. It was just called Star Wars Clone Wars.
That's an excellent run.
Which there are other ones called The Clone Wars, but no, this one was just called Star Wars Clone Wars. And you could get it, I think it's in like 8 or 10 part graphic novel thing. It's like, I don't know. It's like a bunch of regular comic books. And I had a bunch. I had all of them. I don't know where they went.
Dark Horse did the best Star Wars comics.
Yeah, Dark Horse did them. They were pretty dark. Like, they had no problem introducing you to like new characters and going off on a journey with them only to have that character die.
Right.
Like, there was a couple characters that had plot armor because they had to have plot armor. Aside from that, most of them died.
Yeah, but the Clone Wars is actually a good show.
The Clone Wars was a good show. I was never a huge fan of the animation style.
See, I don't mind it.
I don't dislike it. I just like Obi-Wan doesn't look like Obi-Wan to me.
No,
and Anakin doesn't really look like Anakin to me.
It's just different. I mean, that's where you get to see a lot of General Grievous in that run too.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. Yeah. Like, the stories were good. I don't know. The animation didn't really do anything for me.
I can see where you don't like it because it took me a while to kind of like warm up to it.
Yeah, I mean,
but now
I don't
I like
dislike it either.
Yeah.
It's just.
But the Clone Wars
is good. Like, I would watch it again.
Yeah, that was
which was a series and a movie.
That was released.
Well, the movie came out in 2008.
Right.
The series came out It had to be between 2002 and 2005 because it was setting up that.
So we go from Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith.
Released on May 19th, 2005.
Now, this is the movie, in my opinion, is better than Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
This is the one movie that I think could stand up there with the original trilogy and just...
Oh, this is by far the best movie.
It's really good. Like, there's no stupid romance.
Yeah.
There's very, very, very little Jar Jar Binks.
This is dark.
Yeah, this is dark. This is Anakin falling to the dark side.
Yeah, this is
becoming Darth Vader.
This is where you see Anakin.
This is, and it's sort of a tragic fall too, because he falls because the Emperor manipulates him.
Right. This is where you get to see, like you said, Anakin becoming Vader, going down the dark side, killing kids, the younglings.
Yeah.
You know,
killing younglings.
This is where you actually see in Star Wars, it's called Order 66.
Yes.
Which all the clone troopers have this little chip implanted in their head for orders. Mm-hmm. And
then they have to follow them. It's just bred into them.
Yeah, so the Emperor Palpatine, what's his name? Darth
Sidious.
He has this order planted in their heads. So, and this is the end of the story. But to start off,
yeah, it's like the 3/4 mark of the movie.
Yeah.
It's sort of the... I mean, it's a pretty dark scene.
Yeah, I mean, you get to see Anakin Skywalker try to rescue his mother. This is like, to me, that was like...
That was in episode 2.
That was episode 2? I thought it was episode...
Nope.
That's right, it is episode 2. That's where you actually see him...
That's when you see him, like, tap into the dark side for, like, probably
because he just mowed down the Tusken Raiders.
He just mowed down. And not just the men.
Yeah.
The women.
And children.
And the children.
And the pets.
And the pets, probably, yeah, sure.
No, the first thing he killed was one of the pets.
And then meanwhile, you got Padme. She's just like,
yeah. So we come into
listening to this, but she still wants to, have his babies.
Yeah. So he comes in episode 3, and she is now pregnant.
Yes.
But
episode 3 starts off with a really, really good space battle scene, and then it starts, and then you get like it's kind of like. Because it happened so early in the movie, you might tend to forget about it, but they actually enter Grievous's ship to rescue a captured Palpatine.
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they kill Dooku, who was guarding Palpatine.
And Palpatine told Anakin, kill him.
Yeah.
And what's he do? Kills him.
Not at first. He was like reluctant, but
he did it.
But the guy that I was watching the movies with, and he brought up an observation that I liked that I didn't really notice. So when he kills him, he disarms him just like he did to him. He cuts off both of his hands.
Yep.
And he's standing there with his blue lightsaber and his red lightsaber. And the guy that I was watching with said, I like how there's that sort of contrast where it's almost like there was a battle within him.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, he's holding a dark lightsaber and a good lightsaber.
Yep. Jedi Sith.
And he's like, it was almost like a visual manifestation of the conflict going in within him.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, that's a really good observation. I'm glad you're paying attention. You're not as dumb as you look.
Yeah, very good. Because, the red and the blue.
Very good.
And red is Sith.
Yeah.
Blue is Jedi. Well, Jedi or Force sensitive, whatever.
Yeah.
That was actually a great scene. I forgot that.
It's a great scene. It's a really good duel, too. So when at the end of episode 2, Anakin is still a Padawan.
Which means trainee. Yeah,
but now in episode 3, like 3 or 4 years have passed, he is a battle-hardened, he has the skills of like a Jedi Master, even though he's considered a Jedi Knight.
Yeah.
And he's one of the most gifted Jedi warriors that there is.
The chosen one.
And he's able to take apart Dooku you see how far he's come because at the end of the last movie, he gets beat by Dooku pretty soundly.
Oh, yeah.
But at the beginning of the next movie, now he's taking on Dooku like 1v1 me, bro.
Yep.
And he just absolutely wipes the floor with him.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely it's a much darker
It is a much darker movie.
You get it to the point now where Mace Windu.
But again, you get introduced to another new character in General Grievous.
Yeah.
You didn't see him. There's actually a novelization of the movie that I read that goes into before, like, the space battle. Palpatine was captured that day. Grievous came down to Coruscant and captured him, and he actually, like, fought 4 Jedi who were protecting Palpatine, kills them all like they're nothing, because General Grievous is a Jedi killer.
Yeah.
So he kills them, captures, like, Palpatine, goes up into space with him, and has him a prisoner aboard his ship, and it's like, I don't know why they didn't show that in the movie. It would have been kind of cool, but I guess it would have been a little bit too dark. I don't know.
And he didn't. And one thing I'll give Luke, he didn't make his movies overly long.
No, they were all like right around 2 hours.
Yeah. So you can only shove so much in those.
Just
movies.
like a tad over 2 hours.
Yeah. So you get Mace Windu and the Jedi Council are told that Palpatine is
the Sith Lord.
The Sith Lord,
because he comes out to because he comes out of the Sith closet to Anakin.
And Mace and the Jedi. Who were the Jedi that went with him? It was
like, I think it was Sakti.
Yeah. There
was Kit Fisto, who was my favorite during like the whole Clone Wars sagas. Like, he was my favorite Jedi. He was in books. He was in the show. He was in comics. I really, really liked him. He was one of the best Jedi. Goes down like a bitch in this movie, but whatever.
But you have those 4.
But yeah, you had Mace Windu, I think Shakti, Kit Fisto, and I forget the
who are all one.
They were all like Jedi Council, Jedi Master.
Yeah, or very skilled at the lightsaber. They go there to confront
Palpatine, and it's just
he mows right through him.
Well, except for Mace. Mace beats him.
Yeah, Mace then has him pinned up against like the wall on the window.
Yeah.
And in comes Anakin Skywalker.
In comes Anakin.
As Anakin.
Yep. It was the last time we ever see Anakin Skywalker.
Yep, this is the last time you will ever see Anakin Skywalker, and the Emperor, you might as well call him the Emperor now.
Finishes his like corruption of him.
Corruption, and he ends up killing Mace Windu.
Yep.
Which in turn makes him completely go to the dark side. And
now, people have theorized that the Emperor threw the fight or something. No. George Lucas has gone on record saying, in his mind, he did not throw the fight. Yeah, no. So if George Lucas says it, then as far as Star Wars goes, it's gospel.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Mace Windu was possibly the greatest Jedi duelist that's ever lived.
Yeah, he soundly beat
him.
And
that was a great duel. Like that would be number 3 for me, just because you get to see Mace Windu and Palpatine, who later on in the movie beats Yoda. Yeah. Now I don't know if he would have beaten him just flat out, straight up like lightsaber fighting. Yeah. He mostly beat him using Force powers.
Right. And
but,
then
he did beat Yoda, but a little bit before that, Mace Windu just beat him.
Yeah. So you see this, now you know that Anakin's lost, gone. He's not Vader yet.
Yes, he is.
Well, he does get, but he's not the Vader that you see.
He's not like in the suit, right? But he gets named Darth Vader.
Yeah. He does give him the name Vader. We go from there where he goes to hunt down.
He goes to the Jedi Temple.
Yep.
Which again, I wish they could have given us a few minutes more.
Yep.
There was a deleted scene which they show a little bit in the holotapes when they were, showing him killing the younglings and such. It was him, and it was like the weapon master of the entire Jedi Order. He's like supposed to be the guy that like is like the head lightsaber trainer. Him and Anakin have this big fight, and he was played by the guy who was like the stunt coordinator for like the films. So like the dude knew like his stuff. Him and Hayden Christensen had this big lightsaber duel, and they cut it off in the movie. Like did they think that they were getting just like too many duels? Because like they had the Dooku duel, they had the Mace Windu Palpatine duel, they would have had that duel. They're gonna have the best duel, in my opinion, in the trilogy,
which will be coming 2 years.
Which is the So I mean, there was a lot of lightsaber porn in this movie. Like it was good as far as that goes. Like this movie probably had the best action out of all 6 movies.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I would argue, like especially like when it came to like duels.
Yeah. So Anakin is now Vader. He goes to the Jedi Temple.
He goes to Temple.
Kills all the younglings, which was like, holy crap.
Well, marches in there him and the 501st Legion went in there and killed all of the Jedi. And there was, I think, like canonically or canonically, there was like supposed to be like what 1,000 Jedi there,
And
so
then we come to the greatest, what you consider the greatest duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and Obi-Wan beats Anakin, cuts his legs off.
he has the high ground.
And and then the Emperor comes to get him, and the ending scene pretty much is where Vader rises, and then you get the babies.
Obi-Wan left him for dead, thinking that. I mean, like when he left him, he caught on fire.
Yeah.
So he basically figured that this was going to be the end of him.
Yeah.
So he was a little surprised to learn later on that he survived, but he does. The Emperor brings him back
And
turns him into that.
Rise Vader.
Leia gives birth to the twins. He doesn't know.
Yep.
In fact, he's told that she died. And there's a little thing that they do in the movie. So they make it look like she's still pregnant when they were like doing her like funeral.
Yep.
And it was to sort of give the illusion that
she died
with like the baby, so that nobody would ever even think about her kids.
So we have been told by our lovely people behind the scenes here, we got less than 5 minutes to go.
So that's right, because we've covered the 6.
Yep.
We've got. I mean, we could have gone a little bit into the Star Wars, but I mean.
But we'll have a part 2 of this at a later date with the later on movies.
Yeah, we'll do a Disney Star Wars at some point. We'll figure out something for next week. I'm sure we'll get back to a top 10 list next week. Which is what people really want to see. This will have like 4 views. That's fine.
I hope everybody enjoys this. If you have questions or comments, please let us know with our email.
Let us know. Our email.
Okemo Valley TV. They have it on the YouTube. You can comment on there. You got anything else to say before we get cut off?
I don't like Disney Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't like Disney Star Wars.
I don't like Disney Star Wars.
We'll be getting into that.
Yeah.
All right.
I like real Star Wars.
Yeah. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time. Have a good day.
Thank you.